Since working in Cluny Kitchen this semester, I was presented with an interesting dilemma. Developing tendonitis in my left wrist impeded me from working in the physical environment of my LES department. In place of it, I was sent off to start work on the LES project early, which consisted of me sitting in front of a computer staring at the Cluny Food Preferences survey for the hours I was there. It was difficult to feel connected to an Excel document. But during my time, I experimented with questions to get me motivated about this project. And I ended up with thinking about this question. Can Cluny Hill and the Findhorn Foundation separate from the mainstream economy in order to promote their holistic lifestyle? This is quite a big question that even now I may not be able to answer. Instead of talking here and overwhelming myself with the thought that this is too huge to define, I will bring this question to a more tangible subtopic: food economics. What sparked this were the many notes in the comment booklet of Cluny Dining Room emphasizing trends of food preferences: more organic, less salt, and more protein. These same comments were emphasized on the back of the surveys Cluny had gathered over the past year or so. Inevitably, kitchen workers can't please everyone. Regardless, efforts can be made, but the sake of this project is to not please everyone who has ever eaten at Cluny. Rather, this project will focus on the journey behind the meals and food at Cluny and why we have certain foods over others. Sveta, the food buyer at Cluny, talked with me about the process on how food gets to Cluny. During the time period between October and March, much of the food in the storage spaces of Cluny is bought outside of the park at co-ops, Tesco's, and possibly other local food markets. In the season between April and October, much of the produce actually comes from Killearn Garden. To be specific, 90% of the produce. While the colder season, it's only 20%. The products that are not internally available from the foundation are sugar, coffee, and flour. Some of the Cluny residents marked on their surveys how they would prefer produce to be all organic than not. This comment can be taken in many directions. These residents may be allergic to pesticides used on non-organic foods and cannot have a balanced diet because of it. Having organic produce promotes use of more natural products. Or the residents are just super picky. But the negative backdraft that can happen economically to only purchasing organic produce during the non-harvest season is expense. According to Sveta, organic food is typically 30 to 50% more expensive than local foods. Another factor is that some organic products, such as oranges, come from other countries like Spain. This emphasizes food gas mileage, which inevitably makes these organic products far more expensive than they appear. In essence, it would be economically sound to purchase local foods over organic. Cluny Hill gets approximately £100,000 for food buying per year. Sveta as food buyer and Jonathan as second-in-command, the kitchen Fogelizer, must budget this wisely. This then causes similar produce, grains, dairy products, and special treats to develop as a norm. Pizza on a weekday, baked potato Wednesdays, pasta on Saturdays, brunch specials on Sundays, and fish every second Friday of the month. With these patterns, residents who live at Cluny for years develop resistance to these meals and emphasize in the surveys and comments that they are in need for more variety. Essentially, the purpose of the surveys is to create long-term communication between kitchen staff and residents. Often when presented with a conflict in regards to sustainability, the phrase I most often hear is, think globally, act locally. This phrase paired with food economics of Findhorn, Sveta pointed out to me that much of the food is purchased locally with very few exceptions. These exceptions often come from the variety of fruits and vegetables that residents would like to be available to them, such as oranges or tomatoes. It is not often at Cluny that raspberries or pears are ever served weekly in a meal. Since noticing this, I understand how present the intention, think globally, act locally, is involved in the Clooney Kitchen. But what is unseen in this intention is the awareness between departments and residents. Chatting with Jonathan, the Clooney Kitchen vocalizer, as well as Caitlin, FCS mentor, there has been a presence of stress and conflict with having enough bodies to work in Clooney Kitchen. Because of the demand for sufficient meals and variety from the residents, the staff does not always have enough people for that goal. In the 2 attunements I have been present at, I happen to experience spiritual guidance from Gordon in the Spiritual Service Department. The alternative direction the Foundation takes when seeking resolutions to any conflict amazes me. Simultaneously, it can be difficult to connect outside exercises with interior dilemmas. From what I discerned, this may be a factor to why so many people have come and gone, leaving the full-time staff members short-handed. Between comments on food preferences at Clooney and short of staff, there has been much conflict interrelated between the staff-resident relationship as well as food buying. The pedagogy's intention in this semester program is the human challenge of sustainability. This, as the base asset to approaching food economics, reestablishes my main question. Is it possible for the Foundation to separate itself from the mainstream economy? Right now it seems unrealistic. With the growth of social media, it is more evident that we are living in a globalized economy. The use of the eco as currency generates income circulation within the Findhorn community. But where it is inapplicable is outside of the Findhorn borders, especially with purchasing food for the community center or Clooney dining area. So instead of viewing Findhorn Foundation as an alternative community that needs to segregate from the mainstream, perhaps it is more sufficient to view it as a part of the global economy that is essential for sustainable growth throughout the world. With the clear evidence of globalization, Clooney, as part of the Findhorn Foundation, can balance and develop a working economy that promotes permacultural views. This is seen through the partnership of Killearn, as well as its own community garden. Permaculture does not necessarily have to only appear in food systems, but can be viewed as a learning space for economics as well. In Jonathan Dawson's lecture, he voiced that nature's economy is photosynthesis. So what can we learn from photosynthesis in regards to food economics of Clooney? In nature, there is mutual symbiosis between its parts. Plants take in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen for counterpart species to breathe and therefore live in coexistence. In many areas, there is just this at Clooney and the Foundation. Clooney gets its produce from Killearn or finds it locally. Food that is not eaten is composted to be part of the soil to grow any more food or vegetables in years to come. Cooked food is used for chicken food to maintain a balanced diet for them. In turn, they give the community eggs that are more nutritious. Dairy products such as milk come from local farmers and are often all natural. In the end, Clooney's use of economy traces it back to the Greek word oikonomos. This means one who manages the household. Oiko translates to house, while the root word nemen translates to manage. From this information, eco can very much mean house, home, eventually synonymous to community, while the suffix onomy can be synonymous to manage, control, handle, and eventually to exchange, pointing directly to a hypothetical human condition, humans as natural traders. Human beings as natural traders can be traced through centuries and thousands of years of anthropological sedentary lifestyle. It is present across cultures that may seem disconnected. Seeing these patterns emphasizes further the existence of a global economy. Now taking it back home to the Findhorn Foundation in Clooney, what is sustainable about the culture of these communities is the intention to eat and interact with awareness. Awareness of the natural systems such as photosynthesis and permaculture. Awareness of the effects of one's actions on another person or species. Awareness of food and where it comes from and where it's going. But even more so, the community has awareness to enjoy life, and as Sveta said, a sense of goodness that comes from the earth and the sustainable lifestyle.